One, two, one, two. Welcome again to another episode of Sneaks, Rounds, and Life. I'm your host, Lionel McDonald. So we've been having it cooking, no doubt, because the Knicks have been making major moves. I'm recording the last day of April. You'll get this episode today because we have to get it in, keep on our timelines. But again, appreciate everyone listening. So why do we got to get it in today? We are doing, once again, this is the fourth of the series 23 till infinity. This is the 30th anniversary of all the amazing albums that have come out in 1993. So we've touched on De La, we've touched on Alcoholics. So we are going to touch on a very underrated album, but it definitely needs its due. It needs its prop. There's lots of context to this story. So we're just going to get in. So the album we're going to feature today, and I like the album so much, it's way back how I feel about hip hop, where I was in my life. It so resonates with me. It is none other than Erick Sermon's No Pressure. So this is the first album Erick Sermon did as a solo artist and outside EPMD. I'm rocking an EPMD shirt. I just was gifted a Hit Squad shirt. So Ferrum, thank you so much. Can't believe that you know Erick Sermon on a whole nother thing, but this was actually lined up before, and this actually was on the list. It's only fitting that we get it in and we do it right. So who is Erick Sermon? Erick Sermon is, some people say a half, but technically one third of the legendary hip hop group EPMD. So think about EPMD. They have, I don't know, like 7, 8 albums. We know the first four. The first four are infamous and in classics in their own right. So we have Strictly Business, we have Unfinished Business, we have Business as Usual, and then Business Never Personal. So those are the four albums, Erick Sermon, and again, this is available. I haven't said it before, but I'm going to say it again. This is available on YouTube. This is going to be available on Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it, iHeartRadio, that's how we're going to get it. So Erick Sermon, one third of the legendary group EPMD, as I got on my shirt, if you're watching on YouTube. So who are the other groups? Parrish Smith, PMD, as he was also called, and still called to this day, and then the legendary DJ Scratch. So Erick Sermon, otherwise known as E-Double, E-Dub, Easy Eric, EMD, Green Eyed Bandit is probably his most famous nickname because of his green eyes. So Erick Sermon, came up, in the 80s. They started off with, he started off as a producer, really leveraged his producing skills, and then ultimately came to be when they got signed by Def Jam. They came out with Strictly Business. So we're not going to get into we can do a whole other episode just on EPMD. It deserves its own right. So what ended up happening through all the great things that happened with EPMD is EPMD unfortunately had beef. EPMD had issues between Eric and Parrish. When we think about EPMD, Hit Squad was the name of the crew. So in the crew, we had EPMD, so the three artists, including DJ Scratch. Then we had Redman that was debuted on This Is Never Personal. We also had K Solo, part of it, and he was the first one to come out with his own solo album. We had DOS Effects that showed up on Business Never Personal. So we had a squad. Squad was tight. Everyone had fire lyrics. We had DJ Scratch on the scratches, Erick Sermon doing a ton of production. Ultimate Redman and others did their own production. PMD did production as well for the crew. So we had a good thing cooking. But you know how it is sometimes with hip hop, and there's questions about money and so many so the rumors are out there. I literally would have to have Erick Sermon on the show, and we'd have to talk about, let him tell it from horse's mouth. You can only speculate, you can only read what's on the internet. And Erick Sermon, if you're listening, would love to have you on, but that's another day, another story. But let's talk about what happened. They broke up. So this was a thing that happened way too often, and I think two of my, right, excluding Wu-Tang, because Wu-Tang is like a super group, two of my three favorite groups broke up like literally around the same time. And we're talking about Tribe Called Quest, and we're talking about EPMD. We also know we had beef with Mobb Deep. Mobb Deep broke up. So this just happened way too often in the world of hip hop. So I think about EPMD, and they broke up. Played EPMD so much in 90, 91, definitely 92. Then I went back and I heard Unfinished Business, and Unfinished Business has So What You're Saying. So What You're Saying is my favorite song of all time. And then Strictly Business is You Got to Chill and so many other classics. That's like the classic album of the four. Now, some people would argue This Is Never Personal is the best album. Neither here nor there. You could debate till you're blue in the face, but they broke up. So literally when I heard the news that I was devastated that these guys, which I value so much individually, but collectively is what makes them so amazing. They split up. They split up. And I didn't know what to think. This is like not getting any EPMD. I don't know if these guys are even considering. So fast forward, I'm in university, first year university, and going to the University of Windsor. I'm now on the football team. And lo and behold, a friend of mine tells me, you got to go to the record store because there's new music happening. I just saw The Source, and Erick Sermon is dropping an album. And I was like, you got it. Erick Sermon by himself, without Scratch, without PMD? He said, yeah. He's dropping his own single album. Don't even know the title. So I go to record store. Sure enough, don't have much money to spend. I decided not to eat, decided to go and buy the album. Anyways, this is one of the moves that you had to make as a first year university student. So I buy the album. And I buy the album. This is said album, the same one that I bought it at Windsor. I think I bought it at Sam the Record Man in Windsor. Could it be Music World? Might have been one of the two in Windsor is what I bought. I bought the cassette. I was still rocking cassettes at the time. CDs, not there yet. Wasn't that CD level for multiple years. So I listened to this album, and I believe the album. And I wouldn't say like the beats sounded different than than what EPMD, but it was like Erick Sermon had his own sound and his own unique spin on how he wanted to do things, and you could feel that he was doing things like he wanted to do, and not anyone dictating what it needed to look like. So I think that the label that I read here is Rush Associated Labels. Erick Sermon did most of the production. I learned way years later that on I think it's a song Hardcore on Business Never Personal. He wanted Ice Cube to be on the track. It never worked out. Ice Cube never got the song, didn't get to spit. So Erick Sermon got him on No Pressure. So between Erick Sermon, Joe Sinister, Cam, Keith Murray, and Redman became his boys. That's how the second version of Hit Squad. Those were the three. That name stuck, and then there was called the Death Squad. It's everybody else that was left over that stuck with PMD. So the album, we had two major singles off the album. I think Stay Real was one, and then let me just see. Hold on. Stay Real. Oh, can't forget. Hitting Switches was the first one that I heard, and that came out before the album. So I knew he did a song, but I didn't know he was actually going to do an album. I thought he was just doing an album. I never heard Hitting Switches, which is the second song, came out approximately as you look at the timelines, like a month before the album came out. But album is so dope. And I think of some of the songs, like Hostile and how grimy that sounds. Say Sex was a very interesting song. The Hype, but I think my favorite song is Swing It Over Here. And the song is so dope. It gets me so amped. When I hear Redman come in on Swing It Over Here, I literally lose my mind. And Erick Sermon is it's different than PMD's. It's a very smooth flow. So I have so much appreciation just how he crafts his music. And hey, Erick Sermon did other albums. He did Double or Nothing was like the second album that he did, and then he got the EPMD got back together, and then we did what was it? Back in Business, because every title has to have business in it. And then we did Out of Business, and then they kind of went their separate ways again. and then Erick Sermon did music, and then they came back and did We Mean Business, I believe is the timelines. There's an Icon album out there. There's best of EPMD that's out there. But this album really resonated because it was an album that I was listening to in university. And I don't know for any of the listeners out there, when you were in university, the albums that you listened to then will stick with you for the rest of your life. So this one in particular sticks with me to this day, and Swing It Over Here is a song like it is like a warm-up football song. It's like I'm gonna go for a PR on bench or in squats or in deadlifts. Like that song just gets me so amped and so excited. And it's the combination of the lyricism that's in the song, but definitely it is also the production. This is one of the best projects that Erick Sermon has ever produced. And he's produced a lot of great things in his time. And he's, touched so many different artists. So it's pretty amazing that Erick Sermon has done this. I'm very fortunate. I've seen EPMD as a collective perform twice. Once at Rock the Bells, and second, actually, the first time I saw them was like 2005, 2006. They're supposed to have an amazing show with Redman, with Ray and Ghost, with Keith Murray, and dudes didn't get across the border. At least EPMD got across the border, but people were so upset about the promoter and everything that happened, and that the guys didn't get across the border. Someone threw, if you can believe this, I'm embarrassed as a hip hop fan that this actually happened, but someone threw a bottle at DJ Scratch when he was scratching, when he was at the tables. He got so upset, he left the stage. He's never probably been that humiliated. I didn't blame if he never came out in hindsight, but I just wanted to see them so bad. Like, again, it's a top 3 hip hop act for me. Like, no solo artist, but them as a collective is top 3. Like, and for me personally, Mobb Deep, EPMD, and probably Tribe Called Quest maybe very well first, and rest in peace to Q-Tip. Rest in peace to Phife Dawg as Q-Tip and Jerobi and Alicia He Muhammad are the remaining members that are still alive. But to see how mad DJ Scratch was, and they took a timeout, they went in the back, they found a way to come back and do, like, I don't know, 6, 8 more songs. They didn't do the full version. They kind of got 2 bars in, or two 16s in. Sometimes in a couple of tracks at the end, we cut it to 116, and that was it. But they were my favorite group. I thank God there was justice, and I got to see them at Rock the Bells, and I got to see them. Now, I don't know if many people have heard. I'm extremely grateful that I found this. I'm so excited about this. But if you didn't know, this is the 50th year of hip hop. And we're going to pop this off in August. 50 years of hip hop, when, we had a part jam by a legendary DJ Kool Herc, and that was the birth of what we call hip hop today. And there is this, I'm calling it right now, I'm calling it the GOAT show. Because with the exception of Nas, and for some it would be Jay-Z, some say it can't happen because Biggie and Tupac alive, but living legends that truly took us from the 80s to the golden era will all be there. So this is called, I think it's called Hip Hop 50 is the show. Now, hey, I know LL's doing a show. He's not on the bill. He may be the only guy that belongs in this group, along with none other than Cool G Rap. Cool G Rap should be on the bill, but he's not. But who we're getting is unbelievable. So, as I've already qualified, EPMD is going to be there. Getting Slick Rick. We're getting Dougie Fresh. We're getting Big Daddy Kane. We are getting KRS-One. And we're getting Rakim. So that is like that's when I say it's the GOAT show. Like, of my top 6 rappers, 3 of those are those guys. You could throw in Nas as number 1, Big L is in there, and then Black Thought is in that mix, and that's my 6. Now, hey, there's many other people. Cool G Rap influence in many regards, influence all of them. But in my top six, those three are there. I'm not saying they're the best, they're just my favorites. So the impact of that show will be like the highlight of this hip hop 50 years to see these legends spit in Detroit. I love Detroit. Detroit's, other than New York, it's probably my second favorite city in all of America, third favorite city outside Toronto in the whole world. I just love the feel. I love the vibe. I love the culture. I love the music. So I have peoples there. So very excited to be in Detroit. Very excited to see this show. Very excited for so many different reasons because this is hip hop at its finest. But to see Eric, going to get another chance to see Erick Sermon, and I don't care if they do any solo joints. I would love to hear hidden switches or a couple other joints, a couple special guests come through, but let's call it what it is to have them perform their hits. So what you're saying, I know I'm going to get it. I'm going to get probably Raw the remix. I'm probably going to get Know the Ledge. I'm probably going to get Step Into a World, or I'm going to get the MC. I'm going to get it's going to be, you're going to get the show. You're going to get Children's Story. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Like even if these guys, they gave you the 6 best songs they ever made, that is a show of a lifetime. So Hip Hop 50, that is the bill at Fox Theater. I know I'm hyping it up, I'm promoting it, I'm putting it on there. So you're going to love if you get a chance to go to the show. I know many people are making the trip. Tickets are still available, but let's go back as we wrap up with Erick Sermon. So this is a great album. If you've never heard it, you've never heard Erick Sermon rhyme by himself, go give it a listen. I think it is an unbelievable album. It has a vibe, nothing like any EPMD album. It doesn't sound like Double or Nothing. It doesn't sound like music. This is the maybe in the year, and I probably said it when I first did the Alcoholics one. Maybe the Alcoholics has the most underrated album. This is probably number 2, and arguably number 1. That this album, and people says, oh, he's going to go by himself, and it's not going to be the same. He knocked it out of the park with this album that came out in October of '93. No, I was playing football. I played this for the balance of the season from the time that it came out. So, Erick Sermon, we're so grateful for this album. It's unbelievable. It is one of the unsung joints of '93. For me, it had to be in my top 12 best albums of '93. It deserves its props. It deserves people to go back and re-listen to it. But from the Big Payback Part 2 to Stay Real to Hidden Switchings to Do It Up to The Hype to Swing It Over Here, as I said, is my favorite song. And then All in the Mind is cool layback track as you kind of wrap up the album. Gotta listen, gotta give it a listen, gotta listen. If you're trying to get into the golden era, I know got some young listeners that are trying to get up on their hip hop. Take a second, listen to EPMD as a collective, because when we talk about artists going back and forth and sharing and spitting bars, no one has done it better than EPMD. Many have tried to duplicate, many have tried to copy, but no one is better than EPMD in going back and forth. I arguably say people will say Outkast, people will try and call Tribe Called Quest a duo, people will say Black Star. I will say EPMD is the best duo. And I'm kind of adding DJ Scratches to DJ, but on the mic, the best duo, period, of any hip hop group. And I would put them up as any other group in any other genre. They set the table to what being a duo looks like today. And if it wasn't for EPMD, we would have no Tribe, we would have no Outkast. The list goes on. We would have no Mobb Deep, we would have no MOP. The list goes on and on when we want to talk about duos. Top 10 duos could be a whole nother episode that I do. But I'm telling you, Erick Sermon on his own deserves his respect, deserves so much credit and clout. And from the production to doing mostly on your own to actually the lyricism that you put through. Eric, to me, this is easily a four mic album. You could call it 4 1/4. But and I'm stingy with giving out mics, but this one resonates with me. This one is one I will listen to the day that I leave this world and my spirit goes somewhere else. But listen to this Erick Sermon's album, No Pressure. There was a lot of pressure to put out something. No pressure because he knocked it out of the park. Thank you to listening to Sneaks Rhymes and Life. That is the 4th episode of my 23 till Infinity series. Wait for month 5, my birthday month. You know we got to have something special on there. But listen to the next one. Appreciate everyone listening. Got to bounce. The Knicks are about to play game 1 of the playoffs. Yeah, by the time you hear this, the game will already be on. But game 1 of the playoffs, the Knicks will be cooking. So really exciting times with my Knicks. The Leafs somehow broke through here in Toronto, so the city is wilding. But thank you for listening. Another great episode, and just highlighting some of my favorites. But on the flip side, we'll catch you. Sneaks Rhymes Live. Peace.